actually carried out geophysical survey in so many states in the country.
Politically, in 1987, that was when we do what you now call the zero-party election.
The things you use to earn money are there. It's just for you to know how to think of developing them.
Representing the people is you being a trophy of dividend of democracy to the people. The people are the beneficiaries.
Being an executive director, I'll be able to help and use my experience.
The state now, the environment is quite friendly. The foundation has been laid for even foreign investors, other investors within the Nigerian economy to come in.
We tend to extract from some social, economic and political leaders their achievements, their works, and of course their involvement to the development of Delta State. Welcome to the biggest personality television program, Deltascope. My name is Isioma Adigwe. Deltascope is a weekly magazine program that profiles the good works of some leaders who have contributed their own quota to the development of Delta State in their various leadership capacities. Our media crew met with a daring personality, someone who is fondly called the King of Boys, a man who has occupied various leadership positions in Delta State and of course contributed his own quota to the development of Delta State. We are talking about Chris Onogba. He is the Commissioner for Environment in Delta State. Let's meet him and hear what he has for us today.
So when you left Sapele, you went to Onogba.
I grew up to knowing that my parents were living in Sapele. I was born in Ojolu, born into a family of 8. After a while, my father relocated his family back to Mosuga. That's where my father is from. I had my primary education in Mosuga, Onogba Primary School. I did 1 year in Mosuga Secondary School. After that, I went to Sapele to continue my secondary education, Former Grammar School. I left Former Grammar School, got back into the street. And that is because, you know, some persons are born with some form of spoon. From what people say in the society, golden spoon, wooden spoon, if you like, let me add clay spoon or plastic spoon. But I was actually born without a spoon. People call it humble beginning or humble background. No, mine is poor background. I like to say it as it is. So I went back to the street. In 1996, before PDP, I contested for the councillorship of my place.
On our platform?
DPN then, Democratic People of Nigeria. I contested under DPN. I lost that election because of inexperience. I went into the election not because I was actually determined to win, because I knew I was not going to win. As at this time, the GDM also feeded a candidate. Then you can have the likes of Shifibori in a party and a small boy is coming from one party and you think he can. But by the grace of God, we were able to show to the environment that at least one small boy do exist in this environment. I lost the election. It will shock you to know that they gave me 1 vote.
Who voted that? You?
Okay, so it's assumed that I voted myself. You know, politicians, the way they do things. When the result eventually came out, I was given 1 vote, which is to say my family member didn't even vote for me. So all of the votes from every other person didn't count. Just to make the record straight, they gave me 1 vote. So, but that is how it went.
Yeah, but you said that you went in knowing that you're not going to win.
Because I knew I was moving against all odds.
Okay. Why did you go into that? I mean, first of all, you know that this way, so. I'm
a very daring person. Very daring person. I dare a lot. I dare a lot. I like to embark on any venture, any journey. It is when I feel that it's going to be injurious to my existence, that is when I pull back. Until that happens, I don't stop. And so I ventured into it. First, it was not to win, but at least to show that someone has a little capacity that the leaders of that environment can work with. And after the election, the boss, Senator Amori, called me and said, boy, yes, you tried, but you are going to be on my side from now on. So I just kidding. He signed me on. And so we're following. We followed when eventually Buri became the governor. Something happened. One day, Buri was in Ogara to attend a church ceremony. The then council chairman was Honorable Sonny Wode. For whatever political differences they had then, boys invaded the church, and the policemen who were with Buri now needed to shoot and they shot. In the process, about 6 persons died. Right? And I was not there. I was in Boboroku. Then I was the youth president of Ijere Baptist Youth Association. I started quite early. And so I was in Boboroku. But for political reasons, they saw that I am now close to Chief Amori. They believe that I'm one of his strongest allies. So if we can't get to Chief Amori, let's try and get one of his boys. I was in Asaba here. I was arrested. They took me to Igbuzo. I was in Igbuzo for 9 days without food. The only thing I was eating was just bread, and I got that bread after 3 or 4 days. You know, I suffered so much in Igbuzo. Amori came, we were bailed. The then council chairman was not satisfied, took a petition to Alagbo in Lagos. They took us from Igbuzo to Alagbo in Lagos.
You've been in politics for like 21 years now?
Yeah, I can tell you.
Yeah, you've been in politics for 21
sure.
years. And this time you've been Secretary of Local Government,
yep.
You've been SA,
yep.
You've been a 2-time member of board.
Of the Delta State Library Board. Yeah.
You've been 2-time commissioner.
Yes. This is the 3rd time I'm taking, as I looked at it, for 3 times now, I have sworn to an oath of being a commissioner 3 times. I was a commissioner with Udwan. In this administration, I have taken oath twice to become commissioner. I was also executive assistant to...
Like you said, you've been an SA, you've been a commissioner 3 times.
Yeah.
You've been a secretary 3 times. What's the quality?
For every office that I find myself occupying, my attitude to it is very simple. Power truly belongs to the people. Whatever office any man holds, you hold that in trust for the people. I don't attach sentiment to whatever I do. I believe that, yes, I am here as a commissioner, not just for the people, but for the state. So that's how I do my things. And I also feel very strongly that power is transient. All my life, I have never allowed power get into my head. Power is transient. It will come and it will go. So while it lasts, it is expected that you must not see yourself as somebody who's up there, then every other person who's not privileged as you are at a particular time is not lower than you. God forbid that I will ever think in that direction.
After your secondary school, you went to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
That means there's a relationship. There's a knowledge that you know about the street, about the people. How have you been able to relate to that background?
I do very well. First, that I can pride myself for being a graduate today. Is something, sometimes when I sit down and I think about it, I can only say, to God be the glory. I can't remember how many weekends I stayed back in Uniben. Every Friday I'm back home. On Saturday, either I'm doing my banga tapping or I am doing my rubber tapping. I say this, I don't shy away from my background at all. I don't shy away from it. For every weekend I'm back home, I need to work to be able to sustain myself back in school. I did that. If you go to Mosoga, some of the persons who are very familiar with my upbringing, they will tell you that, yes, this is exactly how it is. So I understand what it takes to survive on the street. And that is why, today, I think I'm one of the commissioners in the state who does not spend weekend in Asaba, except there is an official engagement that will keep me behind. Or sometimes the exigency of my office will keep me behind otherwise. Every Friday I'm back home with the people. They call me the youth Jagaban.
Now, the people are bound by laws. From your experience, 21 years in politics, What laws you think can enact, or what laws can come in, both federal and state, that can make it possible for them, the farmers,
Okay.
one, then the youth, then the women,
Okay.
Laws that will probably affect their life positively. And we move them strategically.
Okay, first, our laws are very elitist in nature. The elites sit down and put the law together. Until such a time when we are ready to allow the people on whose behalf, the people for which these laws are made, are allowed to also contribute to the process of that law, we may not get it right. What we should do is to do what I call a town hall thing. Let the people sit down and tell us their own experience. Once we are able to put the plight of the people together, that will now determine the definition of the kind of law we'll be putting together. Unless we are ready to listen to the people, and let's generate our policies and our laws from the people. If we don't do that, we'll continue to have this challenge. The people must play a role. After all, it is said that power belongs to the people. Now there's a social contract. What is the social contract? 4 million Deltas have a mandate. They surrender that mandate to one person who becomes the governor of the state. It is further broken down into constituency. For instance, now, we have the Ethiopian West constituency. In Ethiopian West, let's assume we have over 4,000 or 5,000 persons. These 5,000 persons have mandate. 5,000 persons cannot be in the house at the same time. We came together, we decided that one person should represent us. We have given a mandate to that person. Whatever law that person is going to bring up at the floor of the house should be law that emanate from the 5,000 constituents from your constituency. If we don't do that, we'll continue to get it wrong.
And how do we integrate the youth with these laws? Because the thing now is youth account for 68% of the population of Delta State.
I agree with you.
How do we, what kind of laws or what kind of motivation to the man at the helm of affairs, the governor, the legislator, or the House Assembly member, the chairman, the councillor?
The challenge we have at the moment is value orientation. On the street now, the thinking and the orientation of some of the youth seems to be distorted so much. More so in this era of Yahoo. First, the value of education is going down, is dwindling, and that is because the average youth down the street believes that, oh, whether you are educated or not, if you have your computer, you're able to press your computer, you make money from it. And so education is almost becoming something they want to consider last. We must begin to do value reorientation first and foremost. First, I have been someone who has been living with the youth. I will continue to do that. I am going to continue to create that forum where conversation will go on. Continuous interaction and conversation will go on. If you don't do this conversation, if you don't do this strategic engagement, you will be able to get the reorientation right. You will be able to get the feelings of the youth right. You can get their impulse. You will be able to know what they want so that as to be able to direct the legislation, right? To be able to counter for the interests of the youth. So for me, what we must do at this moment, I see that there's a dislocation between the youth and the elite, as the case may be. So I'm going to do everything as much as possible. Of course, I have started, as I said to you, there's no weekend I don't go back to interact with the people. I engage my youth. I talk to them. I listen to them. They tell me how they feel, where I need to make correction, I do. Where I need to also accept their suggestion, I go ahead to do it. As I said, they call me you Jagaba, not because I wish to be called or wish to be given that title. And so this is what we must do. That strategic engagement, that continuous conversation must continue. And if we continue to do this conversation, we continue to do this engagement with the people, I can bet you, in no time, we would have carried the youth along to the extent that all of this agitation would have been reduced.
Poverty seems everywhere right now. What can we do in terms of legislation, in terms of laws that could probably eradicate, to some extent, poverty around us?
Wow. Poverty is a very serious issue. Very serious issue. First is, if we are going to address the issue of poverty, I do not see it as something the state alone can actually handle. I don't see it as something the state alone can handle. It has to start from the federal government. First, we must unbundle the system. We must unbundle. There seems to be so much power at the center. So much power. We must make an attempt to unbundle that. And one of the ways to unbundle that is to practice true federalism. As of today, virtually all of the states go back to Abuja at the end of every month, cap in hand, to beg for resources, to be able to deal with the issues of the state. And once there's a problem at the center, it trickles down to the average man in the street. Today, Nigeria is a country that exports raw material. And every country that exports raw material, such country will continue to live in poverty. For instance, we export crude. And in getting the crude back, we are not paying through our nose to get the same crude that is from here. So for a country that exports raw material, such country will continue to be in poverty. Each time I hear turnaround maintenance of our refineries, and it's never done, I feel pain. If we have all of our refineries working at full capacity, and we are not exporting this raw material called crude that everyone depends on, I'm sure in no time we'll be able to widen the horizon, we'll be able to widen the frontier, we'll be able to broaden the economic sector of the country to the extent that we'll be able to live well. Once we unbundle the system, I will practice true federalism, and there are resources for the state to deal with the issues of the state. Once we deal with that, that's the first stage. Then the next thing we'll be dealing with is the issue of integrity and transparency. When the resources is there and the transparency is there to manage the resources prudently, we have gone 50% halfway.
I remember in those days we had some of the economic base of Delta region were more in Sapele, ATMP, Rainbow. There was a crown flower, I don't know if it's
yes.
Still exists. And we have Pamol.
Yeah, we have Pamol, yeah.
We have Pamol. You know, all that has crumbled.
Yes.
How can we revive the economic landscape in that area again?
Okay, first, as I said, is we just need to create the right atmosphere. People say government doesn't have business being in business. They say government doesn't have business being in business. I seem to subscribe to that to some extent. To some extent, that government doesn't have business being in business. And that is because all of the businesses that were managed by government have since collapsed. They've all gone into oblivion. We can't see them anymore. As you just mentioned, ATP in those days, Sapele was a beehive of activity. People in Lagos, people from everywhere, they were coming. Look at Rainbow in Mosuka then. How did we just get to where we are? It's policy direction that we're not put in the right perspective. Do you understand? So we must, at this point, bring about laws that will make entrepreneurship to thrive. We must begin to develop laws that will make it easy. For instance, if a businessman wants to come to Delta State to do business, and that's what we are trying to do now. We are trying to create a one-stop shop. A businessman wants to do business in Delta, for instance, he gets to an office. In the next few hours, he gets registered with Corporate Affairs Commission. In the next few days, he gets all of the certification from all of the government institutions. Once that one is done within a few days, and we reduce the amount of agitation from host communities, because that one is also a big issue too. Once we're able to reduce agitation from host community, and the businessman who is coming around to do business, in no time is able to get all of the documentation done, and the atmosphere is right, our physical infrastructures are put in place, we have our road network in place. The one that is most critical, most significant is energy. Once there is power is constant, right? The power is constant. Our hospitals are working to the extent that, okay, if you have a company here and for whatever reason, your staff have health challenge, health issue, the patient is taken to hospital and the doctors are there to look after the patient in no time. I don't see any reason why business would not do well in Delta, for instance. And I do not see any reason why the existing business will not expand. And once there's an expansion, for instance, once a business is expanding today, what it means by implication is that more persons will be employed. More persons will be taken off the street. So at this point now, government will direct all our attention, all our energy towards creating the right atmosphere. And let's not say the right atmosphere. Let's not make it vague. Let's put it in proper perspective. All of our physical infrastructure must be put in place. We must say thank you to the governor. Look at the amount of road we have built over time. Roads everywhere. And the power system, the new thinking now is independent power project. One is already running. Once we're able to do all of this power, independent power project, the source of power is there. The road infrastructure is there. Our health system is also working. Then the environment is clean. I can tell you, business will do well.
What's your impression about in one sentence, Senator Ato Okowa?
The first thing I look for in a leader is will. Strong will. It is that strong will that produces strong character. I had the privilege of being in a conference with the then Vice President, Architect Lamadi Sambo, and the then Deputy Governor, Professor Troma, somewhere in Akwa Ibom. The meeting was to canvass ideas on how to move the Niger Delta forward. After all of the beautiful presentation, I told the Vice President that all of these things can work until we have a man with a strong will, strong, if you like, call it strong political will, to be able to execute all of these beautiful plans we are putting on ground. I said that, and the Vice President agreed with me. Today, all of those beautiful suggestions and ideas that we put together, none today, none worked. Dr. Okowa became governor as at the time when the resources coming to the state was in a very bad shape. The price of the oil was just nothing to talk about. Price of oil was just nothing to talk about. And here's a state that depends virtually, almost solely on federal allocation. But the man kept paying salary of government workers. Yes, the local government system held back so many months of salary of workers. And that is because of the local government system. But for the state workers, salaries were paid as and when due. Nobody could do that. The only person who can do that is somebody with a strong will. He had all the privileges to give excuse of, the resources that are coming to the state is very mean. For paucity of fund, we can't do this. For paucity of fund, we can't do that. And everybody will understand that, yes, there's no money in the state. But yet, with the very meager resources that is coming, today the governor is called the roadmaster. How did he do that? There's what I call strong will. The governor is a man with strong will. He's a man with strong character. I have also discovered that he's also a man of his words. Once these three things are complete in a man, the will is there. You are ready to keep your word. And you are ready to listen to the people. You must make a good leader.
All right, so we'll be talking to Honorable Chris Onogba. Let me just come with this one. And I'm sure we'll come back again. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Christian Onogba has not failed to connect with the youths of his community and of course the people of his constituency. A man of vision, a man who has made so much impact in the lives of many. For active participation, it's important you follow and subscribe to our different social media handles right on your screen. On behalf of the producer and the entire production crew, I want to say a very big thank you for joining us on this beautiful episode of Deltascope. My name is Isioma Adigwe. See you soon.